Hello, this is George Hutton, and you are listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. Today we continue our study of weaponized hypnosis. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/weaponized-hypnosis. In today's podcast, we'll be talking about social status origins. There is a deep energy that underlies every human interaction, something that was very critical to humans in ancient times. This is hard to understand, especially from an objective standpoint. It's like a couple of fish having an objective discussion about water, something that is ever present and absolutely necessary for their survival. Even wrapping our mind around the topic of this podcast episode requires we first wrap our mind around a broader topic. The broader topic is human instincts. What is an instinct? An instinct is an unconscious urge either to get something or get away from something. We see a cockroach scurry across our kitchen floor and are immediately repulsed. We don't need to think about it, it just happens. We are hit with a sudden burst of unpleasant emotional energy which makes us want to either get away from that cockroach as quickly as possible or stomp on it and get it away from us. Or imagine you are walking down the street thinking about something mundane like what to watch on TV that night when you accidentally brush up against the most gorgeous person you have ever seen. They reach out, slightly touch your upper arm, gaze into your eyes, smile, and say, "I'm sorry, I should watch where I'm going." And then they keep walking down the street. Whatever was on your mind has just vanished, and now all you can think about is them. Or how about if you are meeting your friends for drinks after work? You sit down and you feel like a beer. Your friend asks if you're hungry, and you say no, since you aren't. They order a huge plate of appetizers. As soon as the waitress puts the appetizers down, you suddenly realize how hungry you are. We even say that, "I didn't know how hungry I was." All of these are instincts. Your mind-body system is in a certain state. Then something in your environment shows up, cockroach, gorgeous person, appetizer, and you suddenly have an automatic emotional feeling which makes you want to do something. The cockroach causes you to first recoil in horror and then want to kill it. The gorgeous person makes you want to follow them and seduce them, though most don't attempt this. The appetizers make you hungry and you eat. Automatic humans. A long time ago, humans and chimps were the same kind of primates. Then chimps went one way and humans went the other. Over the long course of evolution, humans managed to become these walking, thinking, talking primates. But before we could walk and talk and think, we were run by instincts. All animals are driven by instincts. These are like very complicated rules of operation. When you see something to eat, move toward it. The image or smell of the thing to eat comes into our senses. This triggers the hunger desire, which sets off the collection of actions which take that thing to eat and transform it from being something outside of us to something inside us. Once it is inside of us, or the animal, it is slowly changed into energy for movement and building material for muscles and bones and tissue. The development of our conscious minds is very recent. Our neocortex, or new brain, is very thin and is wrapped around a much larger mammalian and reptilian brain. If you've ever tried to lose weight through sheer willpower, you know it's nearly impossible. This is because our hunger instinct is much stronger than any conscious choice you can make. Our hunger instinct has kept us alive for millions of years, while our conscious thinking brain is a relatively new feature. Instinct mismatch. Much of our problems as modern humans are because our instincts still think we are living in a hunter-gatherer society. Back in those days, food was scarce, so an instinct that said, "Whenever you see food, eat as much as possible." This translates into us feeling hungry whenever we see food. This is why we really aren't hungry, but then when the waitress sets down the appetizers, we suddenly realize how hungry we are. Hunger is the most obvious instinct since we all eat. We all talk about eating. We see TV shows and commercials where people are eating. It's hard to go very far in modern society without seeing tons of references to food and eating. Our instincts still think we are living in dangerous times where food needs to be chased and killed before eating it. This is the main reason why obesity is a problem in industrialized societies. There's a very strong correlation between a country's per capita GDP and its obesity rates. You put food in front of humans and we'll eat it. Most important instinct. The most important instinct for our purposes is another one that was very helpful back in the days of hunter-gatherers, but not so helpful today. It's one that is very hard to notice and very easy to ignore. But once you train your mind to see this, you'll see this everywhere. It exists in every conversation, every nonverbal interaction, every time you step onto an elevator with strangers. While it is purely a biological survival instinct, just like hunger, because it's hard to visualize, it's commonly spoken in metaphorical or philosophical terms. However, because describing things metaphorically or philosophically doesn't give us the technical details we need to handle it correctly, so we need to get clear on what it is specifically as an instinct. Social cohesion. One very important part of hunter-gatherers' life was social cohesion. Tribes that worked well together tended to survive better than tribes that were always getting into disagreements about what to do. This is just as true in chimps as it is in humans. Every individual of the tribe needs to maintain a certain level of social acceptance and appreciation. Everybody needs to know that everybody else is carrying their own weight and doing their fair share. At the same time, all social primates, just like us humans, are organized into hierarchies. So we've got this top-down organization, and at the same time, everybody needs to know their own place and feel comfortable with it, and everybody's got to feel that everybody else is in their place as well. 2 imaginary tribes. Imagine one tribe with a very well-defined hierarchy, where everybody accepted their own place. Now think of another tribe where everybody wanted to be the boss and everybody was always telling everybody else what to do. The first tribe would be much more efficient. The second tribe would be always in disarray. Imagine 2 football teams, one where everybody knows and accepts their position. They have a huddle, the quarterback calls the play, and everybody knows and does their job. Consider another team where every time they have a huddle, everybody is trying to be the quarterback and nobody likes their position. They wouldn't play very well. Social instincts. Imagine an instinct or a collection of instincts that maintain the social order. People would be able to sense who's in charge and who wasn't. People would be able to sense if everybody else thought they were doing a good job and they weren't. For example, imagine an ancient cave person who saw a couple of other cave people talking and pointing at him while shaking their heads. If this cave person was automatically worried, got kind of a bad feeling, that would motivate them to change their behavior so the others would stop talking about them. Similarly, if a cave person did a particularly good job on the hunt and the leader praised him when they were eating the kill, it would make him feel good and motivate him to repeat that behavior. We can define our social instincts as that collection of instincts that motivates us to stay in everybody's good graces, and negative motivation to change our behavior if we think that they think we aren't doing a good job. This is a perfect description of our ego, at least partly, but there's more. Higher up is better. In chimps, there is a strong correlation between social status and sex, meaning the chimps that are higher up on the social status ladder have more sex, and they get more food, than chimps that are on the lower rungs of social status ladder. What does this mean? It suggests that every generation of new chimps is created from the winners of the social status contest from the previous generation. And since those higher up the social status get more of both sex and food, it's a safe assumption that the desire for higher social status is more important than either the drive for sex or the drive for food. If you get higher social status, then food and sex is an outcome, a result. So we can say that our collection of social instincts, or our human ego, is a combination of being hypersensitive to the opinions others have about us. Good opinions about us make us feel good and want to repeat whatever created those good opinions. Bad opinions make us want to change our behavior to avoid those negative opinions. At the same time, whenever we see an opportunity to move up the social status ladder, we take it. Just like hunger. Before the appetizers were delivered, we didn't think we were hungry. As soon as she set the plate down and we saw them and smelled them, we were hungry. Social status instincts operate the same way. We don't sense them until we see an opportunity. We don't care what others think unless they are talking about us either in a good way or a bad way. We don't care about our social status unless we feel it is being threatened or we see an opportunity to increase it. modern implications. Imagine living back in the days of hunter-gatherers. We lived with the same people our entire lives. We knew where we stood. If we had any hidden desires to move up the social status ladder, which we did, since everybody always wanted to move up however they could, we had to play the long game. Since we had to hunt and sleep and forage with the same people our entire lives, we wouldn't want to take any huge risks. We knew our place, and we did whatever we could to maintain others' good opinions about us while moving up however we could. This was usually done by how well we did our jobs, how well we hunted, how well we foraged, and protected the tribe from danger. With everybody doing this, it pretty much guaranteed that tribe would be in good shape. Today our lives are very, very different. Just like our ancient hunger instinct is getting triggered like crazy, so is our social status instinct. It's triggered by people talking about us, by any praise we may get, and by the plethora of opportunities to demonstrate social superiority. Extremely subtle. When we meet others whom we don't know well, the game is on. There is a contest going on beneath the surface that amounts to a social status contest. Remember, this is very subtle and one that few people will ever notice, but it is always there. Whenever you step into an elevator with strangers, you measure everybody up and they measure you up. It happens quickly and subconsciously. If you are sitting on a subway and somebody gets on, you will immediately guess their social status relative to yours. Anytime you are talking to somebody, that battle is always going on beneath the surface. The Prime Directive. The main desires that are always going on in every human is to demonstrate higher social status whenever possible. Consider this to be the prime directive of humans. With high enough social status, money and sex are an outcome, something that happens naturally. With insufficient social status, money must be chased, sex must be chased. While we like to imagine that we are consciously thinking rational people, for the purposes of this podcast, try to see the world through the lens of social status contests whenever you can. This will help when defending yourself against verbal attacks. Homework. Take a few moments every day and look at the people around you. Don't see them as rational and logical humans. See them as primates who are always concerned with social status. Try and find the actual contests they are having. These will always be subtle, but if you look for them, you will find them. I'm George Hutton. Thank you for listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/weaponized-hypnosis. I look forward to speaking with you again soon.